this week's episode of One Piece, Luffy and Sabo cry. A lot. Honestly, it's not really all that shocking. If there's one thing that the One Piece anime series does really well, it manages to hit you at your emotional core. And it always manages to do it with big manly men crying like little girls. And that's pretty much what you get in this week's episode. In the first half, it's all Sabo crying. In the second half, it's Luffy and a little bit of Sabo crying, and that's pretty much this whole episode right here. There is a little bit more to it, and there is an important event where we finally get to see Sabo get his memories back about Ace and Luffy, and he finds this out because after Whitebeard had been killed and that big war was over, the news and the mail got out to everyone, they got their newspapers, and they were all talking about it, and he was suddenly reminded of Ace and Luffy, and for about 5.5 minutes of this week's episode, you are going to see Sabo just completely break down and turn into jelly. It's also very tragic in the sense that he's had amnesia, and when he finally does get his memories back, it's of one of his brothers being killed. And then in the second half of the episode, we go back to the scene where Sabo meets Luffy, where he's all dressed up as Lucy, getting ready to go into the competition, and this is when the waterworks just pour on big time for Luffy. But there are a lot of funny scenes here that I really like. In particular, my favorite one was where Luffy stretched out his arms to Sabo and ended up slamming right into him with his crotch. That's Luffy's crotch to Sabo's face. It's definitely one of the funniest moments from this week's episode. And then another pretty big development is the fact that Fujitora is not going to go after Luffy, and that's because he's literally been rolling die to make this decision, but it's very obvious that he has another plan in mind. The episode ends with Sabo literally flying away while riding on some birds, remembering the good times he's had with Luffy and that he was glad to see him again, and that he will honor his brother as he heads back to Baltigo. So, what's the rundown on this week's episode of One Piece? Really, I just don't have that much more to say about this episode. It's unfortunate because the episode before it added some filler scenes, which, despite the fact that they were filler, were entertaining. It was really cool to see those training sequences, so I was kind of hoping maybe they would add a little bit more to here, but no, basically it's just watching Sabo and Luffy cry for about 20 minutes. It also helps that this one has some pretty decent animation and artwork, and for the most part the episode is padded out with some pretty good character moments from the Straw Hat Pirates. I also love when we went back to the pirates who were sleeping in the castle and all the other warriors from Krita Coliseum. Cavendish is just completely freaking out. He looks so disturbing when he is sleeping because his evil Hakuba side is trying to come out. That's another one of those little funny, memorable moments from this week's episode. So basically just a really slow, average episode of One Piece, but it had enough little moments that I ended up really enjoying it. So I'm going to give this week's episode a 3 out of 5. Just a fun, average episode of One Piece. If any of you guys watched this week's episode of One Piece, make sure to tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching this review. You are awesome. Make sure to smash that like button and share this video with all of your friends. And if you would like to, please subscribe to the channel. That way you can see all of our cool videos as they are released. You guys can also check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and check out our weekly podcast show. You'll find links for all that cool stuff in the description box below. So thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby!